Colorado State.
All right, players of the game. We had 2 on defense, so they were tied. Dante Dion and Darian Thompson. All right, on offense, Brett Rippon. Special teams was Leighton Vander Esch. Our offensive lineman was Marcus Henry. Defensive lineman was Kamale Correa. Those are the players of the game. Just recapping, like I said, I thought our guys played very well. It started in the prep last week of those guys just being focused, and I thought they did a nice job coming off the Virginia win, where everybody wanted to talk about that game. Not a lot was being said about Hawaii, and that's really where our focus had to be at, and it showed up. Our players did a nice job of that. They were ready to play. I thought defensively we had a really good handle on what they were trying to do, and I thought that our guys did a great job of neutralizing the run, making them one-dimensional, throw the ball, and we had a pretty good feel for the concepts they were running. On the offensive side, pretty balanced, running and throwing. I thought Brett played well and took advantage of a couple looks in there that we didn't expect that he saw. One being to Spurbeck. That play was designed to go to Jake Rowe. The field safety never moved, and he took advantage of it. And that's one of those opportunities that you talk about that you don't expect to come up, but when it does, guys that see that, that's a good thing. And it was a great catch by Thomas. Special teams, still improving. I think red zone punt is an area that we want to continue to keep improving in. If we can get people pinned back inside the 10 and play great defense, that's going to give us great field position on the offensive side. So, there's still quite a few things that we look at, kind of the game within the game with the standards of how we want to play, and that we've got to go back to work on this week and refocus for Colorado State. Colorado State's 2-3, 0-1 in the Mountain West. Their head coach is Mike Bobo. I got a chance to get to know him when he was at Georgia. His story, played quarterback there, coached there, offensive coordinator there, spent, I think almost all of his career at Georgia before becoming the head coach at Colorado State. And we actually, when I was at Texas, he came down and visited me when I was the offensive coordinator and came to a practice. And I got a chance to go to Georgia, which is my first collegiate practice in spring, and actually watch those guys. And so, I really respect what he does. I think Coach McElwain, when he was there, established a toughness with Colorado State. I think Mike Bobo understands that and carries that mentality from Georgia there, because the way they play, they're still a tough physical football team. Different style of offense than what we've seen, a little more pro style, 2-back, 11 and 12 personnel, but you'll see the backs running power downhill inside run game with a fullback. 7 of their coaches are new this year, so they had a few guys that have played us last year that are on the staff, so there is carryover in certain areas from last year's game. On the defensive side, they got 7 returning starters. They played in 2 overtime games. So these guys, and that was against Colorado and Minnesota. They didn't win those games, but they've been in it. So they've been through that test. And then special teams, a couple things in there. It might be a little more conventional than what we've seen, but still very sound, and they get their best players out there and play. So, it's all about Colorado State this week, and we've got to travel on the road there. And that's our focus, is to make sure that tomorrow when we step out in the practice field, it's all Colorado State. We go back to trying to find ways to improve in the areas that each individual player was coached on after the game. And if we can continue that, we put ourselves in a good position going into the game. I think the other key ingredient to our success has been turnovers. We're +8, puts us 8th in the country right now. And, that's a stat that matters most. And being top 10 in the country, we're proud of that. We need that to continue. And I think the quarterbacks have done a good job, and backs have done a good job of being stingy with the football. And then defensively, if we can keep getting, we'd like to get 3 a game, but if we can keep getting those marks, we're going to put ourselves in a great position to take advantage of those turnovers, which we've done, and put points on the board. So with that, open up for questions. All right.
A couple little things off the top. Terrell Johnson returning the only kickoff of the game. Is he the new starter back there? Are you guys mixing that up at all?
He anointed himself the starter on that one return and went out there. Right. Yeah, we that was his shot. He did a good job. I don't know if that's one of our best returns we've had, but he did very good. He has practiced well. I know you haven't seen him, but we've seen him in practice, and he's a guy that we think can give us a little spark back there. You'll still see McNichols back there. You'll still see Jonathan Moxie back there, but Terrell has shown up in practice to be a guy that, we can use.
Killian Butler, you mentioned that he had a package kind of in there for him, and I think you guys ran that play twice in that game, and then in addition to that, Corey Young had a couple of nice blocks, and I guess just how did that opportunity evolve for those guys?
Yeah, just through their work and effort and deserving to be out there and have a chance to play. Corey's been on special teams more. We put him out there, I think, in the Idaho State game, and we got to see him on film. Did a nice job, and so we've been playing him more on punt return and utilizing him on kickoff as well. And then Killian Butler, we're playing the guy. It's time for him to have an opportunity. He's a freshman. You're going to put the ball in the freshman's hand in the red zone. Yeah, we're playing him. I mean, that's the mindset that we have to have, and he went and scored. We ran the play again. Now, on that play, here's the thing that I appreciate the most about that play is Jeremy McNichols is in there and has the key cut block. And here's a guy that's, somewhere in the country statistically of scoring. I know he's doing a great job of that, and he's out there leading for a freshman to go get his first touchdown. So to me, that's the whole point, of kind of having plays like that in the game, is making sure everybody knows that they have a chance to contribute. And guys like McNichols, you're going to go cut the safety. That's your job on the play. So we've said it here for a long time. If you deserve an opportunity to play, we're going to try to find a role for you. And it might be 2 plays, it might be a package, whatever that is, but that's something that Killian, Corey Young, those guys have earned a chance to get out there and contribute.
You mentioned the turnovers. I know you said earlier in the season that statistically you don't win the turnover battle and you won't win the game. And I think 9 turnovers for your defense the last 2 games. You mentioned the offense. I don't think has won the last 3 games. How do you explain the switch there, where all of a sudden it just clicked?
We want to win. That's the number one thing that I talk about with the guys. So they understand it. They're all very smart when it comes to, what is the key ingredient to being a successful football team. It's turnovers. I think it showed up in the games, and when you can go back and point it out and go, okay, here's why we won the game, because we had this many turnovers. We didn't give up any. We scored every time that we got one, for example. Then if we continue that, we can win. And so, we talk about ball security and being stingy with the ball on the offensive side. And then, you got Darian, you got Dante. Those 2 guys they got their own little game within a game going on. You got Jonathan Moxie that almost had a pick 6. Darren Lee gets a turnover. You got D-line and linebackers, not just getting the tackle, but also trying to get the ball out when they do it. I think they understand. That's the key. And, that's something that I feel like this team is taking a lot of pride in right now. Every team's different. That's not always the case. They don't always – sometimes it's big plays. Sometimes it's 3rd down stops. For this group where we are right now, turnovers. They're taking a lot of pride in it. And, if that can continue, then we put ourselves in a great position to win.
Obviously Brett's got off to a fantastic start. When you look back to August, what was the difference back then that made him not the guy at the time? And then is this what you expected, or is this better than really what you thought would happen when you put him in a game situation?
Yeah. I think he's just come a long ways from where he was, in fall camp, even mechanically, just more throws, more opportunities to hear the same coaching points, more reps. As far as his play, yeah, we hope for that. We hope that for every one of our quarterbacks. But he's done a nice job. I think we've always felt like his preparation habits have been very good until you go play and actually see it. And, for example, the touchdown to Spurbeck. You know, he wouldn't have made that throw if he hadn't watched and seen that on film and knew that I am looking at that, and if he does that one time, I'm taking advantage of it. And so to me, that, you know, that gave me confidence in what he's watching and how much film he's watching, because there wasn't many looks of that came up. So, you know, if he can continue with his preparation habits, improving those, continues to be smart in what he's seeing out there on the field, yeah, then we expect him, because he's throwing the ball very well. Physically, he has just gotten better, you know, and that's what you're seeing out there, and the ball coming out of his hands, and he's more consistent, you know, with his mechanics. So I think it's showing up.
Most of the headlines, you partially answered this question. Most of the headlines, 50 points, 3 straight games. The offense gets a lot of love, but defensively, you're in the top 10 in 7 different categories on defense. Where does that all start? Does that start from stopping the run? Where does it start?
Yeah, I think it does. I don't know that for a fact. I think it does. That's the number one thing we're always trying to do, is eliminate the run game. We probably haven't seen a run game like we're going to see this week, so that'll be different. You know, Colorado State will run the ball, and they will continue to try to establish the run. So that'll be a great test for us. But you make them one-dimensional, and then you're getting pressure on the quarterback, you're creating turnovers. So to me, it's a combination of really those two. I think we've made a team one-dimensional for the most part, and if we let the quarterback stand back there, we've seen him throw the in routes and complete them and do different things like that. When we're making that guy move and getting in his face, that's where the turnovers will come up. So really it starts with the D-line and those guys doing their jobs in the run game and the pass game. And I've always felt that way. You know, if your D-line's playing well and you're pressuring the quarterback and you're staying in your gaps in the run game, then you're giving everybody else around you a chance to make plays. And I just think our linebackers, our secondary has confidence in the guys up front that they're going to do their part. And so, you know, they're not trying to do their job for them. They're just doing their own job. And that's showing up.
I was wondering if you comment on the instincts that Brett has and how that's helping him have some success early on. And then just overall, you know, now he's getting ready to start his 3rd football game. How's he starting to settle down into that consistent role and the consistent grind of being the starting quarterback?
Yeah, I don't know if he's settling down. I don't know if you can do that no matter what. I mean, really, that's just veteran or not, as the season goes, every week's a new challenge. And the way we prepare the offense and the quarterbacks, you never really have a chance to settle. You're recreating things each and every week, you know, and there's new opportunities in there. Instinctually, hard to tell. I think he's seeing things very well, which are instincts. And, you know, we have a chance to take advantage of something. I think he's been doing that for the most part. We got to do it more consistently, but he's been pretty good at it.
You know, it's obviously been going on here for a while, but this kind of shielding the quarterbacks from the media, the public, that kind of thing. I'm wondering what the thinking is behind that at that position, and also, you know, when we might actually get to talk to Brett.
Brett will be available after the spring game in 2016, so that'll be the first time you can talk with. You know, they've already got these guys, and again, I think I said it last week, but you know, with everything going on, we talked about being very selfish last week with our time, and the 3.5 hours that we get to play, that's dedicated to Bronco football. And you know, I mean, there's been stories of halftime tweets and different things. These guys have so much going on that it's nice just to go out there and focus on playing football and being with your teammates and concentrating on honing your craft and all those things. So, you know, for a quarterback, he's in there, you know, he's watching tape. You know, he's going to class or he's over here watching film. And, you know, those two things right there take the majority of his time. And so, you know, we can take something off their plate, and especially young guys, you know, that's what we try to do. And I think that's been the mindset with that position. You know, there'll be a chance. He's able to speak, all right? He can answer questions and all that. So he's capable of doing it, and I'm sure he'd do a fine job. But that's one of the things that, you know, we help our quarterbacks with and other positions too, is just, hey, this is what you need to focus on and concentrate. That's the most important thing. And, you know, he'll have his opportunity to speak with you guys, and you can question him. And but right now, all the questions you've been asking about him, you know, we're still developing those things, and he's still developing those things. And that really needs to be his focus.
So just to be clear, was the spring game thing a joke, I'm hoping?
What's that?
Was the spring game thing a joke, I'm
No.
hoping? No?
No, not right now. It's not. We'll see. I want to give you a point that you know you're going to talk to him. It might be earlier than that. It won't be later than that. I promise you that.
Okay.
All right. So it won't be any later. Might be earlier. We'll see.
Another one on Brett. You said he's come a long way since August mechanically, and he sees things well. His instincts are good. How close was he in fall camp to winning this job? Was he miles away? Was he real close?
Yeah, I know where you guys are going. And let me be clear on this. Ryan Finley was the clear starter coming out of fall camp. And we felt like Brett could play. But we made our decision. And, you know, the hard thing right now is to speculate. Ryan's not playing. You know, Brett is. So, you know, I know what the questions are from that standpoint, but that wasn't at the time. You know, right now he's playing well. He's doing a nice job, and that's where we're at.
Coach Max Wittick, a guy that played at USC, actually started a game against #1 Notre Dame. You guys brought some blitz packages and confused him quite a bit back there. He was 7 for 24. Who gets credit for that?
Well, the guys out there playing. You know, our defensive staff. You know, that was one thing I know Coach Yates, going into that game, we were concerned about Max. And even though they hadn't scored and there'd been some things statistically that didn't show up, we really felt like this was a game that could have been a trap-type game where these guys would show up. They got good wide receivers. They got a quarterback that can sling it. And we talked about that. And so I just think our guys were focused on seeing the very best that Hawaii had to offer. And, you know, I give those guys in the field credit. You know, every time I looked at our coverage, somebody was right there with them. You know, even at the end, there was one, Ray Ford was in. And I don't know, the other backup quarterback was in there. Well, he threw one up, rolling to the right, threw it up, had been running around for a while, and Ray was right on the wide receiver. He was completing the play. That, for us, that was a big moment. You know, that just showed up, or just showed that, you know, what we've been talking about, it was getting through to the entire team. And I give the guys credit on the field. You know, they just, I think they knew what was coming. I know when we took the timeout, Hawaii was driving, we took a timeout just to kind of get everybody refocused, and they were already talking about a concept that they believed Hawaii was going to run, and they ran it, and Darian Thompson almost had another pick. You know, he was right there running the route with them. So, you know, to me, that's, we talk about, you know, the quarterbacks watching film. These other guys now, you know, on defense, those guys study a lot of tape. They get their tendencies, and when you have that, you're pretty confident. So I'd say those guys in the field getting it done.
Just about to the halfway point of the season, the start of the year until now, both sides of the ball, where do you think the teams have improved the most?
I think our consistency on the offensive side, you know, of getting the drives up and running, you know, being more consistent on early downs, gets us into our tempo, and then we're able to operate, you know, be more efficient that way. Defensively, you know, I still think our front seven, you got to give those guys credit. You know, they're stopping the run. That's where we've improved. You know, it's just, I think, trying to make a team one-dimensional on the defensive side and getting it done. And then special teams, you know, Tyler Rassa, you know, has done very well. Probably could have used him, but didn't need to. in the game a little further out, but the two that he had, he was confident, went in there and kicked it, and did exactly what he's been doing. Got no love. I don't know if you guys saw that. Nobody high-fived him or anything. So we showed that on the screen here at the team meeting. We said that kickers are people too. All right. So, all right, let's give them a little bit of love. They got a kick out of that. No pun intended. But it was, those guys have done a good job. I think you guys get a chance to see the 3.5 hours. We're talking week to week. We're seeing the improvements in the schemes and the guys running it, the confidence of guys working together. You don't always know that Ben Weaver is working, with Cam Miles on a certain concept, but those guys communicating, actually talking about something, getting it done, that's the fun part. That's what they enjoy, is those moments. And I think we're seeing more of that, just the guys coming together and playing together better.
Sounds like you guys have noticed the Dante Darian back and forth as well. And I mean, they've made it look so easy, but this kind of interception count is just, almost unheard of. What is it about those two guys that sets them apart and has allowed them to get I mean, usually teams will stay away from a guy like that, and they keep getting them.
I don't know. I like the competition. I hope they keep getting 3 each every game. You know what? I don't know if it's. I think our staff has mixed those guys up. They're not always in the same position. Darian is always roaming. He can be in a free guy, or he can, be down in the box, whatever it is. But guys have to try to attack. You got Jonathan Moxie. I mean, that's one thing. Now, he hasn't had the same number of interceptions, but if he's not doing his job, if Cam Miles isn't doing his job, or Dylan at the time, then DT and Dante aren't in the position that they're in, And those two guys, all right, as far as film study and a feel for the game, they're really good. They've got some things now at this point in their career that you put them into a concept, explain what they can and can't do, and they've got some feel that you're seeing. Some of those interceptions, that's feel. That's just knowing, what's coming. And I think both those guys have done that. And so it's been fun to watch two guys that are elevating their level of play. I think they're feeding off each other. That's the competition. That's the fun part within the team. They get to compete with each other that way. And I think our guys enjoy the fact they're having fun doing that. Our guys around them are having fun, and that's, helped this team come together even more.
You allowed 0 sacks Saturday night. I know it's a lot more than the O-line that goes into that. What all did go into that stat?
Yeah, running back protection. And I think Brett, too, in the pocket, that was something going into the game. That was a big point of emphasis. We had challenged our guys about the sacks, not giving up any sacks. So it is it's the O-line, it's the running backs, it's the quarterback, all working together. And, there was a couple, Brett had to move, and, he set his feet and ran and went and got 3, 4, 5 yards, whatever, out of it. So, those things to me, those eliminate us being in 3rd and 14. We went back, we looked at, some of the stats, and there's a 3rd and 14, 3rd and 16, 3rd and 17. That's hard to get. Now, if we're 3rd and 8 or less, 3rd and 9 or less, those are a little bit higher percentage to get. So that's part of, the quarterback and guys, not putting ourselves in position to take a sack. And then when we're in the red zone in particular, if we got a guy that can kick it from 50, let's not be back at 60 with the sack. So I think everybody's just taking a little bit more ownership in making sure that doesn't happen.
You mentioned the kick return game. You guys haven't had a lot of chances to kick return because of your defense. I know Coach Riddle was saying he'd like it to be better, but you just haven't had a lot of chances in games. How hard has that made it to improve there when you're not doing it much? And also, you mentioned Colorado State's running game, but Rashard Higgins, just your thoughts on him also.
Yeah, I'm glad we haven't had many opportunities, so it is hard to improve in that area. But, we feel like every time that we have the ball in our hands in whatever way, that we can score. And so, you know what? It's probably not always going to be that way. We're going to have more opportunities, and we're just preparing for that opportunity. You know, and getting Terrell in there, you know, one of the things that I saw from him, there was a very small window, and he hit it. And, you know, we got some pretty good field position out of it. So, you know, it's a mentality. It's the guys up front doing a better job fundamentally. It's your wedge doing a better job of keeping guys covered up. And your returner, you know, you need to have a certain mindset back there of how you're going to return it. So, you know, when we get opportunities, you know, if it's just one a game, fine. Then we want that one to be big. And we do want to find a way to score. And so, yeah, we don't have a whole lot of chances, but we're working on that in practice. We're taking a lot of reps throughout the week to make it work. And, you know, if it's one or two a game, fine, but we got to make it work.
And Higgins?
Yeah, he's very good. You know, I mean, we all remember him from last year. He's a very good player. Now, I think they've utilized some other guys as well. It's not just him. They got a tight end and two other guys that I've seen on film that have played and made plays. But, yeah, he's a guy you need to know where he's at. You know, he's a top-level player, and they're going to find ways to get him the ball. They're going to try to create matchups. You know, we need to know where he's at all times. And somebody's going to be one-on-one with him. They got to compete. And I feel like we've got guys that can compete with him.
Back to the quarterbacks real quick. If and when Ryan Finley comes back 100% healthy, where does the quarterback competition stand there? And can you give us an update on his rehab and where he's at with that?
Yeah, Ryan's he's on track right now. He'll be, I believe, in a walking boot this next week, and then we go from there. As far as, you know, where we're going to be at, I don't know. I'm not going to answer that. We're focused on this week, and, you know, that'll be when that time comes, we'll address it then.
With the running game getting going last week, you guys were really balanced. 279 on the ground, 275 through the air. What did you see out of the run game? And Jeremy's second effort picked up quite a few rack yards in that game.
Yeah, probably that. You know, I thought we ran the ball effectively. I thought Jeremy, Kelsey, their second efforts, and probably, you know, you go back to it was right before half. You know, we ran it a couple times. We're actually trying to, you know, somewhat be conservative and not throw it down there and have something negative happen. You know, so we ran the same play twice, really ready for a timeout, you know, to get some points out of it. And then, you know, Jeremy bounces it outside and scores. You know, we felt good about it, but he really took that play, and the second part of the play was on him. You know, he ran it in there for a score. So, to me, I think you're seeing we're blocking the plays better, all right? We're not getting penetrated as much. We're giving our backs an opportunity to see the hole. And then we have some guys, Jeremy being one of them, that if it's all clogged in the middle, can bounce it outside and utilize the speed. And then you got a guy like Kelsey that is going to pour it up in there, and he gets hit at 3, and then he gets another 2 on his own, and then the O-line's pushing him for another 2, and you're getting that pile moving. All of a sudden, you got 7-8 yards out of a run. You know, that's just the mindset. So I think we have a good 1-2 combination right now with Jeremy being out there and being able to do the majority of it, and then Kelsey being a really downhill physical guy. And then Kelsey, you know, he was in there on pass protection as well. That was one of the reasons why I think that helped us, you know, in the sack department. You know, was mixing those guys up a little bit. But, yeah, you said the numbers were balanced. You know, we can run the ball for close to 300 yards a game, and everybody's mindset on defense is to stop the run, and they're not doing it, and that puts us in a good position to be able to throw the ball down the field and utilize our pass game.
Coming in this season, we talked about the depth on defensive line, and that two defensive line probably doesn't look anything like you thought it was going to look like 6 weeks ago, yet they've been productive. And just get your thoughts on that group, and then any injury issues coming out of the game, or update on Antoine Turner.
No injuries for anybody in this game. Drew